One of the things years ago when I was doing a fundraising event that involved boards and people and stuff and shit,
Yes.
I enjoyed the fact you and I talked about that you created this Willie World years ago. And you would put money, and the money would go in there. And what I loved about it was you controlled it totally. Thank you.
Hey, we're going out live, buddy. I don't want to be running.
And welcome to the World Wide Web. Walt Willie blowing his nose. Some guy in Bangkok. I know him. Only one guy in Bangkok.
Just the one guy.
Just the one guy.
Hello.
Some one guy.
It's the only time.
But he knows a lot of guys, that one guy. But I love the fact that at the end of the year, as you told me, you go, I can take that money, and if I want to just give it all to one charity, I can. But if you decided that when you were in New York or whatever, you go, hey, you found out there are a bunch of kids over here that needed bicycles. Well, you just go buy 50 bicycles and go take it to the kids.
What we did for a while until we couldn't find it anymore is we would buy the old bookmobiles. Remember bookmobiles? We would buy those and we would turn those into mobile autism outreach things, and we did that for we did 3 of those, and they go to rural areas where there wasn't perhaps a clinic or a way for kids to for parents to identify the problem, and they would do a little occupational therapy with them and help get them set up with resources that could actually help them. Right now I'm doing, Jesus, I'm so excited to be here, thanks. I'm doing, for those of you that go,
Colin.
Go. Just get ready for you, big guy.
Calm down.
For those of you that go to my website, waltwillieworld.com, you'll see that I'm doing a one-man show, which I did here.
Yes.
Called Wild Bill, an evening with James Butler Hickok, about Wild Bill Hickok. Thanks.
Well, you were born in the same town.
The same county.
Same county.
Same county.
He was in Indiana, correct?
Illinois. You got it all wrong.
All right. It was an I. I got close. In Illinois.
We were both born. That's right.
We were both born. In Illinois.
That's right.
Now,
but what I do with that is I do an in-school program. I'll go to a high school. I'll do a public performance in their auditorium because the set's very simple, and it's a fundraiser for the school's theater department. And I'll go in and I'll spend the week before that mentoring, teaching acting, coaching monologues and stuff. And so what the Willie World Endowment Fund does right now is it funds a lot of my travel and stuff, so I can go in and do that because I just did one in Jackson, Tennessee for a very poor high school, I guess you would say, 80% black, and the kids were kind of just, nothing was expected of them. They were just kind of written off. And I went in there and I spent a week, and when they saw somebody gave a shit about them, somebody cared, somebody wanted them to do well, somebody was there raising money for their theater departments, they could do one more play that year. Man, they just unfolded like flowers. I mean, they really did. It was just incredible. So people like Lori, people like you tonight who buy the DVD, thank you so much for helping me do that. It's nice.
Great. Oh, thank you, Marcella. Now, one of the things that I don't see. I know. Well, tell us a little. Something I don't know is anything about your mom, dad. Do you have brothers, sisters growing up?
I had a mother and I had a father.
Oh, you did. And what'd your dad do?
My dad actually was a professional baseball player for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Really?
He was on the farm team.
Every time I do one of these interviews, I learn something. I've known Walt for I don't know how long.
20 years.
I never knew that.
Like yeah, he was a big southpaw relief pitcher, and he was in the show for 1 year. Hurt his arm playing in the rain.
Awesome.
He played with the Gas House Gang, back in those days. And then he returned to our hometown of Ottawa, Illinois, kind of defeated. He felt kind of bad about it. But he began working at 9 years old in the coal mines. He would lead the pony out with the cart of coal, and he'd separate the coal from the rocks, and he'd throw the rocks against a barn. And these guys saw that he had some arm on him, and they painted a bullseye, painted a strike zone for him. And he eventually just turned that wall to powder with these rocks, throwing these things. And so when he got back, he was only, 21 or 22 when he got back, and he was offered a job at the Libby Owens Ford Glass Company, which made windshields for Chevy and Ford, and because they wanted him to play on their ball team.
Exactly.
You know, because everybody had a local ball team in those days, you know, before the war. And he played, and I remember looking at the scrapbook, and one of the articles said, Willie, returning to his form of earlier years, whiffs 21 batters and leads the Ottawa Merchants 21 batters, 7 innings worth of strikeouts. And he taught me, I was too young to see him because he was 44 when he had me, like I was 44 when I had my son. So I never saw him in his heyday, but he taught me he was a junk thrower. He threw junk. His heat was long gone. But he played for many years, and then he coached for many years. So as a young pitcher myself, he taught me junk. I was the only kid that had a screwball, a slider, a knuckle, a spitball, a wax ball, a grease ball. I mean, I had no heat either. I just threw crap. But these high school kids couldn't hit it. They just wanted the heat. They wanted me to bring the gas, and I didn't have the gas. So they'd watch this knuckleball come in and go, shoo, like this, and they'd be so mad at me because I wouldn't give them anything to hit. But, cool. So, yeah. And my mom, I told you about, I had a younger sister who is now gone.
Yep.
Died a few years ago of a drug overdose, in fact. And yeah. Hey, you know, yes, thank you for that. But I found out when I was in Tennessee, when people say God bless her soul, sometimes what they mean when they say bless your heart in Tennessee, they mean this bitch is a hot mess. I just learned that spending a month in Jackson. And when they say, I'll tell you what comes out of their mouth next, you usually don't give a shit about. So, just a little translation from the Tennessean.
Your mom and dad stayed together forever?
Oh, forever.
Yeah.
All forever.
And your mom was a housewife and that
housewife,
kind of
that's right. But she was also the den mother, and she was the mother all the kids wish they had, and they all hung out at my house. And Dad died pretty young. Dad died at 68. He had emphysema, bronchitis, asthma, and of course he worked in the coal mines and then the glass factory, so he really didn't have a chance. Right. But he was just he looked like John Wayne. He was a big man. He was like my height, but another 40 pounds. He had arms on him like this. And he was a really big man and a gentle giant and a funny guy. He was very dry, though. He was very dry. I remember when I was a kid, I don't know how old I was, 8, 9 years old. My dad had built a picket fence around our house, a white picket fence, the classic white picket fence. And then he threw a little barbecue to celebrate his white picket fence. This is a big time. This is a little town of about 17,000. This was a big time outing, you know. And the neighbors came over, and I remember my dad was at the grill flipping burgers. And Ray Dixon next door said, Walt, whatever possessed you to build this white picket fence? And my dad didn't skip a beat. Without a smile, he said, well, you know, the wife and I have been doing it doggy style so long, she started to chase cars.
That needs to go in the show, partner.
And my mom was one of these great sports who just loved us. Oh, you're something. But I mean, my dad didn't smile, he didn't laugh. He'd say this funny shit, and never. He was so dry. He was a really funny guy. And my mother was exactly. She was
So you were an athlete all the way through. You played college basketball.
Not really.
Well, you played college basketball.
Yeah, well, not basketball, baseball. Yeah.
Oh, baseball.
No. And I was a pitcher. That's not really an athlete.
Yeah, it is.
You're not expected to do much, but, you know, strike the other team out. I can run all day in a bathtub.
And then you talked about it a little bit. Military veteran. Marine Corps, correct? No?
Army.
Army,
yeah. No, wait a minute. Whoa. Yeah. Just so you know, I got busted. And I was given a choice before we went to the sentencing portion of the trial. I'd already been convicted. He said, if you can find a branch of service that will have you, then by God, and you get an honorary discharge, then an honorable discharge, not an honorary discharge. You're only kind of discharged. It's just honorary. An honorable discharge, then we'll wipe this all out. And I was like, absolutely, let's go. So yeah. And so don't thank me for my service. Thank me for staying the fuck out of prison. That's all.
There you go. Somebody told me you boxed in the Army, or boxer. Is that true or not?
I boxed. No, after the Army, I boxed. I boxed just because I wanted to box. I was terrible.
Oh, okay. Well, let's skip that.
Yeah, let's skip that.
That shit. Now you know something. There's a little hole in your life that is the.
That's because of Colin.
I know. There's the most intriguing. The 70s, the decade of decadence. The wildest time of our history, I think, when everything was wide open. You're out of the military, right?
Yeah.
By then, but you didn't move to New York and start that till early 80s, right?
82 or 3.
So where were you in the 70s?
Oh gosh, I was. I got married for the first time in 75, I guess, something like that. And I was in Southern Illinois. I went to Southern Illinois University when I got out. I was a sculpture major, which meant I could.
He works well with his hands.
Because, as Colin can testify, sure, because SIU, for those of you, I don't know, is anybody here from Illinois? Anybody? Oh, Saluki. Well, then you know SIU was a party school then. So I went as far away from home as I could, about 350 miles away from home, and I figured I want to major in something where I can like get high and play with clay. Sculpture. So I did that. I did not graduate college. I left school and got a job. I had a lot of jobs. I was a DJ during the disco days.
Oh,
I was
cool.
a DJ. Oh, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I did it too.
Yeah, I was a DJ back when, you know, things like Rubber Band Man was big. I can still see the piles of records with the
Ohio
how many
players.
beats per minute on them. 66. Yeah. Fire was big.
Sure.
You know, all those things. And
Bootsy Collins.
Funkadelic, all these, and I hate that music now because I had to hear it in one ear every night. And I hate it now. If I had never heard a disco song again, it would be too soon.
So everybody knows. Most of your fans, I mean, they all know you moved to New York. You got on the soaps, and you did it from 1985 or whatever till
a quarter of a
century. Now. But what I think is the interesting thing is that you're getting to see kind of the demise of soap operas.
Yeah.
I mean, something that was such a part of the entertainment fabric of this country.
Or not just this country, the world over. It's the #1 form of entertainment the world over. The serialized show, #1 in the world.
And
you
now,
look at the telenovelas and all those.
I mean. There was a point, I'm sure, where you thought, and just like everybody, that soaps would never end, you know. But you started seeing the handwriting on the wall several years ago.
In the early '90s, we actually started to see, because people went back to work. You know, women went back into the workforce because I think it was 90 or 91, 92, when we had the first kind of downturn in economy downturn, women started to go right back into the workforce because you had to. And we could see then. You see, we never lost any viewers. Even before we went off the air, we never lost any viewers. You either watched it on SoapNet or on DVR or VHS or whatever, but unless you watched it in real time, it didn't count. Because the advertisers know that if you're watching on any kind of recorded medium, when you get to their important commercial words, you're going, and they know that. So the rate card falls and the budget keeps going up, and pretty soon it became an untenable business model. And that's why we eventually went off the air. But we never lost any viewers at all. But we did start to see the writing on the wall, certainly by 2000. But even in the early 90s, you begin to see just general ratings, whether your show still was #1, 2, or 3, as we often were. Generally, for instance, let me help you understand this. If Johnny Carson had Jay Leno's ratings, just to get your attention. I got it now, didn't I?
Thank you.
If Johnny Carson had Jay Leno's ratings, they would have pulled him off the air like
exactly.
that.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
But they put a thing like The Chew on, which is far cheaper than we are. I've never even seen the thing. I know everybody hates it because, but it's super cheap. It's super cheap. It doesn't even matter that if it sucks. As long as they get a market share that pays for it, because there are no artists in these, network corporate headquarters. They're all bean counters.
Numbers crunchers.
They're all numbers crunchers. And the days of artists are kind of gone. And now that we have reality shows like... which are real. I love that phrase, reality shows. The minute you put a camera in the room, reality is out the door. And everybody knows there's a camera there. But I watched, what was that? What's the white trash hillbilly girl?
Honey Boo Boo?
Honey Boo Boo.
Not the Honey Boo Boo.
Tell me why we need a show
Swamp People
shot in America that they have to use subtitles for.
I know. Swamp People, the same way.
They have to subtitle that too?
Yeah, they have subtitle that too. Yeah, Chuck, when you talking just right there, is when we going down there, they do that, and then we gonna mess around and stuff, and you Billy gonna bring them things over here, and we're gonna eat some good old possum. Yeah, we are.
There must be something wrong with me, because I understood that, Les.
Damn right we are. Yes, we are.
You thought you were home for a second,
yes,
didn't you?
I did. Yes, I did. I meet those people when I go back home. People that I look at them and I go, no one would believe you in the world that you really talk that way. Now,
but they can watch you tomorrow night at 8:30 on. And the shit's on the Learning Channel. That's what kills me. The shit's on the Learning
Discovery
Channel.
History Channel.
Why is it on white? Like WTC, White Trash Channel? I mean, I don't understand.
No. And a phenomenon of that you mentioned to me is that now you have this huge, or not huge, but you have a lot of the most trained, talented actors and actresses.
Waiting tables.
That are like out of work and they're incredible. Soap opera. You guys have to work so consistently every day with new scripts. I mean, there's very few actors that have to work the way you guys
we were doing
have to work.
600 pages in 4 days.
Right,
we were doing 150 pages a day at the end.
Memorize
with no rehearsal.
And so, you yourself, I mean, you already had the stand-up comedy in your hip pocket, so you could kind of transition in that. As you told them, you've got the one-person show, Wild Bill. You already had your bed and breakfast that the family was doing, and you're doing with them. So you had kind of things, but, I mean...
Plus, I've got the drug smuggling thing.
Oh, that's right. But now, a lot of... Do you stay in touch with a lot of the people that were on the show and what they're doing and how they're hustling? No,
not at all.
Fuck them.
I spent 20 hours a day with those. Yeah. No, that's not true. In fact, I tour with a thing called the Tribute to Pine Valley. And just this weekend, we did one in Foxwoods and in. No, don't feel bad because we're bringing it to Sarasota.
Oh.
We're bringing it to Sarasota and Tampa and I believe Fort Lauderdale. I can't tell you a date etched in stone, but I know we will be bringing it here. And this time, for instance, it was myself, Vincent Irizarry, who played Dr. David, Debbie Morgan, who played Angie, Darnell Williams, who played Jesse, Alicia Minshew, who played Kendall, and Jacob Young, who played JR. Sometimes Cameron Matheson, who played Ryan, comes along. And these are, I only remember their real names. I never watched the show. I watched the show 20 times in 25 years. I don't know who the hell the characters are. But, well, no, I mean, it came on at our lunchtime. You try to watch yourself on television and eat lunch. This is not good. It's a great way to get indigestion. I'll tell you, I was terrible. I was terrible.
Questions for Walt. Do you guys have any questions? Yes.
Not you, Colin. Put your damn hand down.
No, it's Colin's illegitimate sister. Yes.
Well, I never decided. So she asks how I got started when I decided soap opera was my thing, and I never decided soap opera was my thing. I had done a couple of plays in college as a sculpture major. I played the creature in Frankenstein in a lab theater. Oh God, it was a great production. I auditioned for Dr. Frankenstein, and they gave me the creature. I thought, well, what does that mean exactly? And then
the lines were easy, huh?
Oh no, this was an adaptation of the book, and where he starts out an Adonis, and then he, as his body parts reject each other, he goes mad. And then from that, other directors at the school at SIU offered me. I played in Cyrano. I played Christian de Neuvillette, the young man in love with Roxanne. I did Something Wicked This Way Comes. I did Five Posts in a Marketplace for the Baltic Theater Foundation, and then I graduated. And then I went and I did a lot of different jobs, DJ, this and that. Ended up as director of sales administration for a manufacturing company that made gym sets and weight benches and gas grills and stuff like that. Eventually bought Charm Glow. And I was Sears and Kmart account executive. I had no business training at all, but rose to the top of this place. And then I got a call from one of the guys who was a student there when I was a student, who was now on the faculty there. That much time had passed. He said, you know, we're looking for somebody to play Dracula. We can't find anybody. It's a play called The Passion of Dracula. It ran off Broadway while Frank Langella's Dracula ran on Broadway.
Oh, cool.
And so I went, auditioned, got it. And I kind of got it in my blood again. And I did probably a dozen shows in the next 2 years with the university, even though I wasn't. Finally, they asked me if I'd go back to school so they could pay me a stipend so I would keep doing shows. And I did tons of shows there. And then I turned 30. And I thought, gee, you know, I don't want to turn 40 and wonder what if I would have. So I packed everything up and I moved to New York. And I was so green, I honestly didn't know what a headshot or a resume was. And I went out there to be a theater actor, and I did a lot of off-Broadway things with Dan Lauria. I did a Vietnam epic called Dust Off with him. I did a lot of off-Broadway shows, off-Broadway shows. And, you know, soaps in those days, they were mostly in New York, and they were a great way for theater actors, which I considered myself, to get a good-paying job in between plays.
Right.
You know, and that's why soaps in the old days had these great actors on them, and really great actors. And then they started to hire models and, you know, people with stomachs and, you know, and it just kind of went down the tubes. But once they started throwing that television money at me, you know, and I did it like, and all my children, I was an extra a million times. I was Palmer's limo driver. I was Adam's jet pilot. I put Greg in the back of the ambulance when he fell and broke his neck that time. I rented Chuck and Donna their skis when they got caught in the avalanche and made a baby. I was the maitre d' at the chateau. I was in the audience for Raising Cain, the movie about Erica Kane. I did so much stuff that finally the stage manager, Rusty Swope, said, go buy a fake mustache and glasses. We love you, but you can't be everywhere. And then Ving Rhames, you know Ving Rhames? You know who Ving Rhames is? Ving Rhames and I were hired. He's the guy from Pulp Fiction. I'm going to get medieval on your ass. That's Ving. He and I were hired to play Hitman on Another World, and I worked there. And then I got hired to play the fourth incarnation of Joe Novak on Ryan's Hope, and was fired in about 9 months because they didn't like the woman who was playing Siobhan in those days. So they fired us both. And then I worked with Bo Dietl, who was a very famous Gold Shield from New York, a New York cop. If you've ever seen Goodfellas, he's the guy who arrests Ray Liotta at the very end. Don't you fucking move, don't move, put your fucking hands up, I can fucking see him. That's Bo. I was a private detective for him for about 8 months. And then I was in an audition in the green room for an audition for a show on Lifetime called Our Group, about a therapy group. Terrible show, as it turned out. And I called my agent and I said, what's up? And honey, hey, if you've ever watched Friends, you know what Joey's agent looks like? That's my agent. Her name was Honey Rader. She'd done it for a million years. Little Jewish woman about like this. I wouldn't fuck with her for anything, man. She got me the best contracts in the world. Everybody was scared to death of her. About this big. I called her and I said, so what's going on? She said, well, it's Jackson Montgomery. I said, no, it's Walt Willey. I thought, I have a pretty distinctive voice. You'd think my agent would know who the hell it was when she picked up the phone. She said, no, you're Jackson Montgomery. I said, what are you talking about? I said, well, all my children want you to come on and play Jackson Montgomery, Travis's brother. And I knew who that was because I'd been around the show. I said, well, that's great. When's the audition? You don't have to go to the audition. Oh, when's the callback? You don't have to go to the callback. You've got the job. Okay, so I didn't give a shit about this stupid thing I was waiting to audition for, so of course I got it, because I didn't give a shit. I went in and auditioned and got it. So I had about an 8-week, I did about 8 episodes there, kind of a warm-up fight, a tune-up fight, and I'm told by Megan McTavish, who was the head writer of All My Children in those days, that she thought of me while she was taking a crap. True story.
Only our industry that people talk.
She was in the bathroom and thought, Travis needs a brother. And what was that guy's name over in Ryan's Hope? He was so good, and they fired him. Oh, I know who he is. Oh, and I never auditioned for it. I don't know if anybody else auditioned for it. Maybe they did, but that's how I got that job in '87. Yeah.
So I mean, you're talking about a 6-year period of being in New York and beating out, you know, any kind of job you can get to finally get there. But still, you know.
I had a great job, though. I was manager of the Ginger Man restaurant owned by
that's
Patrick
right.
O'Neill.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and it was right across from Lincoln Center and right down the street from where All My Children was taped and One Life to Live was taped and where the ABC News and where Regis in those days was and all that. So all those people would come in, and I'd seat them at the best tables because I could, and I guess it paid off.
Question? Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, I was just wondering, it seems impossible to be able to memorize all those lines. Is there some board back there?
No, we had teleprompters for years, but I think they were gone when I started. I think we had them on Ryan's Hope for a very short time. Those are all gone by the mid-'80s because they were expensive. You had to have a teleprompter operator feeding the thing through. You know, I mean, it's kind of like if you go to the gym every day and you do nothing but do bicep curls, you're going to be able to lift a Buick eventually, you know. And I kept thinking, gee, my dad worked swing shift in a glass factory for 45 years. This really isn't hard work. And that kind of kept me going in those days where you have to learn do 40 pages, go home, learn 40 pages, and you're up first. I was very lucky, though. I always found it pretty easy. And the better the writing is, the easier it is to remember. When you get some shitty scripts, it's like, that doesn't even make sense. Why would I say that to them? And that's why I can't remember it. You know, but by and large, we had good writers all the way through, so. Oh, no. You know, honestly, very rarely. I was pretty good at that. I worked with people who just couldn't remember shit, and it just, you know, just want to blow your brains out by the end of the day.
You have a question?
Hey, Walter.
Hey!
When you were in All My Children, right? You know, the soap opera groupies, okay?
Oh, I know the soap opera groupies, yeah.
I saw you some other place. Did they think you were still in character?
Oh, yeah, no, you know, people have the idea that soap fans, you know, think that these people really exist and I'm really Jackson Montgomery and you know, actually, I because I did so much stuff outside of the show, normally when people would yell at me outside in public, they'd yell, "Hey, Walt!" and not "Hey, Jackson." If they yelled "Hey, Jackson," sometimes I didn't even hear it sometimes because I don't, you know, when it's, no, honestly, sometimes I don't because I'm not Jackson. I mean, that was Walt a lot longer than it was Jackson. And people name their dogs Jackson. So, you know, I thought, "Here, Jackson!" You know, so, but no, they don't. I mean, sometimes they would come up to me and say, "Oh, you better be better to Erica." But it's not like they believed that they were, you know, eavesdropping on a real people's lives. It's that, you know, it's kind of with a wink that they would do that. But no, they weren't so stupid as to believe it was real.
Yeah.
Sir. Ma'am.
The guy back here in the back.
Oh.
Hey, Walter.
Yeah.
Before I leave town, can I get a couple of those Magnum condoms?
Why, are you going to put your arms in them or what?
If you're going to take one of those, you got to show us something.
I
pal.
think maybe he's going to do some balloon tricks later.
The Elephant Man is here.
It's a monkey. Sir.
Real quick, I wanted to say we saw you about 22 years ago up in Nanuet, New York.
The fuck was I doing there?
Backstage, and you were funnier tonight than then.
Oh,
I
thank you.
hope so. He didn't know what he was doing 22 years ago.
Was I doing stand-up?
Yeah.
Really? Wow, because that's when I first started. No, I wasn't that funny then, no.
But I was curious to know, do you still get residuals for the show being on the Soap Channel?
Yeah, we get about a penny a day. It ain't much. Yeah.
Anything else?
Allows me to buy my bird food.
One more.
Is it gonna go online?
What?
All My Children?
It is going online. They start taping. I just talked to Vincent yesterday. They start taping on the 25th, I believe. And the first episodes will go on in the spring sometime. Yeah. They're doing an online, they're doing a reboot of All My Children. It's going to be a half hour. It's not going to pick up where it left off. It's going to pick up 5 years in the future. I will tell you who's in it right now, who's signed for it right now. I'll tell you by character name. Dr. David, Angie, Jesse, Dixie, Opal. Who else were you saying? Who's Patrick? Who?
Dr. Maria Santos.
No. Zach. Zach. And shoot, I can't remember who else. Kara and whoever Jordi Villasuso played. He was only in the last year or so. No Trevor, no. No Trevor right now, no Erica, no Jack.
They're gonna bring me in.
They're gonna bring Les in.
I'll be talking like this right here with them all the time, and they'll do something.
You can work with Billy Clyde Tuggle.
Walt Willey, ladies and gentlemen. Walt's gonna go set up with his DVDs. I'll give a few announcements, and you'll be able to see them right here as you're taking off. Thank you, Walt.